Hey everyone, welcome. If you're gearing up for those medical entrance exams, you already know the deal. The biology section is literally the make or break core of your score. But instead of just telling you to, study harder, today's explainer is going to reveal a complete hack for the Neet and AI-PMT biology syllabus. We're using hard data from past papers spanning nearly a decade, and honestly, we're going to completely transform how you look at your textbooks.
Just take a look at this number, 38. That is the sheer staggering volume of chapters across the NCERT Class 11 and 12 biology textbooks. From the diversity of the living world all the way to incredibly complex environmental issues, it's just a mountain of information. If looking at that number gives you a massive sense of overwhelm, let me validate that for you right now. Literally every single medical aspirant feels it. It is a wild amount of content to try and retain.
So that brings up the million-dollar question, doesn't it? How on earth do you master it all without completely burning out? Because if you just open page 1 of the Class 11 textbook and try to read cover to cover, you're going to exhaust yourself before you even reach human physiology. We need a strategic, data-backed approach. We need to know exactly what the examiners actually care about the most and prioritize our time based on that.
Okay, let's dive into our agenda for this explainer. First, the NCERT syllabus challenge. Then, we'll break down our triage framework. The red zone for the most repeated topics, the blue zone for core mainstays, and the green zone for recent trends. Finally, we'll build your ultimate exam action plan.
All right, part 1, the NCERT syllabus challenge, and how we actually overcome the overwhelm.
So, everything we're looking at today isn't just guesswork. It's based on mathematical patterns pulled directly from actual AIMT and NEET exam papers from 2008 to 2017. We are basically applying a medical triage framework to your syllabus. Just like in an ER where you prioritize patients based on the severity of their condition, we're categorizing textbook chapters into red, blue, and green zones based on a decade of hard data. This absolutely optimizes your study time and maximizes the yield for every single hour you spend on those NCERT books.
Let's move right into section 2, the red zone. These are your undisputed, highest yield concepts. Listen, if you're waking up at 3 a.m. to study, this right here is the map you need. Honestly, grab a screenshot of this. These are your absolute highest yield materials. Chapter 5 on the principles of inheritance and variation and the whole ecology block, specifically Chapter 14 on ecosystems and Chapter 16 on environmental issues. The examiners simply cannot resist these topics. Your mastery of these specific chapters doesn't just need to be good, it has to be flawless.
And here is the proof. Just look at the hard evidence from past papers. For genetics, in 2015 alone, they tested that the term linkage was coined by T.H. Morgan, and they specifically asked about pleiotropic genes controlling multiple traits. Over in ecology, they consistently pull topics like biochemical oxygen demand, which we saw in 2009, and species interactions like predation and parasitism in 2015. The amount of repetition here is just immense.
All right, on to section 3, the blue zone, your core and important foundational mainstays. Now, while the red zone has those frequent flyers, the blue zone, this provides the fundamental pillars of your medical knowledge. You literally can't build a strong medical foundation without mastering human reproduction, cell biology, and plant physiology. Now, sure, these chapters might not have the aggressive, repetitive spikes of the red zone, but they offer a really steady, reliable stream of questions every single year.
Let's look at the specific proof for the blue zone's reliability. Ask yourself real quick, do you know which ions initiate the photolysis of water? Well, the exams in both 2011 and 2015 expected you to know it's manganese and chlorine. They also frequently test the LH surge during the menstrual cycle, the semi-autonomous nature of mitochondria and chloroplasts, and the presence of phosphodiester bonds in nucleic acids. These are standard, absolute core concepts. Miss these, and you're basically leaving guaranteed marks on the table. Now, what's really fascinating about digging through this data is the evolution we've seen. Notice this shift. Older papers leaned really heavily on broad classifications like the plant and animal kingdoms and classical ecology. But the modern focus? It's rapidly pulling towards highly specific biotechnology and molecular applications. And that bridge naturally leads us right into our next section, which is section 4, the green zone, exploring the latest exam shifts. Here, we are strictly analyzing the latest shifts from the 2016 and 2017 papers. You're definitely going to want to flag these specific chapters in your books tonight for those unexpected modern questions. Pay extremely close attention to Chapter 6 on the molecular basis of inheritance, Chapter 12 on biotechnology applications, and Chapter 8 on human health and disease.
This is exactly where examiners are pulling modern, complex questions to separate the good students from the absolute top-tier candidates.
I mean, the level of modern detail they expect now is just incredible. Look at 2017. They wanted you to know that DNA replication in bacteria occurs prior to fission. They expected you to know that MALT constitutes exactly 50% of lymphoid tissue, and that capacitation happens specifically in the female reproductive tract. We also consistently see questions on genetically modified crops, like golden rice being meant for the biosynthesis of vitamin A. The green zone is all about nailing those cutting-edge details.
Finally, Section 5, your exam action plan. Let's actually put this data to work.
So how do we actually use this data starting today? Well, here is your 1-2-3-step strategy. Step 1, master the red zone first. Your understanding of those genetics and ecology heavyweights must be bulletproof. Step 2, solidify the blue zone fundamentals, ensuring your cell biology and human reproduction knowledge is completely reliable. And finally, Step 3, adapt to the green zone. Dedicate some serious time to those modern biotech and molecular biology details so you can secure those high-level differentiator points.
I want to end with a really provocative question for you to think about today. Does your current study plan actually match the data we just revealed? Because if you're spending equal amounts of time on every single one of those 38 chapters, the answer is no. You need to reorganize your notes and your schedule to match this exact framework. Let the data guide your focus, prioritize the red, blue, and green zones, and go out there and master that syllabus.